Let's bring in Robin Hayes, CEO of JetBlue, joining us from JetBlue's offices in New York. Good morning, Robin. Give us an assessment of the market right now. I know it's changing day to day, but do you think we've hit a bottom as far as the industry right now when it comes to demand? And when do you think we might start to see some improvement, even modest improvement?
Well, good morning, Phil. It's great to be with you. I hope everyone is safe and well. I think, look, we've hit the bottom. We're bumping along the bottom. We don't really see much yet as by way of change to that. During the month of April, we're flying about 10 to 15% of our schedule that we normally fly. I see a similar sort of pattern for May and probably into June as well. We're hunkered down right now, and we're sitting it out.
Robin, you guys are in the midst of finalizing a payroll grant from the Treasury Department. Will you also be applying for a loan through the Treasury Department as well from that other bucket of $25 billion?
Sure. No, great question, Phil. Hopefully we'll have all the I's dotted and T's crossed today on the payroll support program. On the loans, we got time to make that decision. Applications have to be in by the end of April. I see nothing lost really by putting that application in. Then we'll have some months to decide if it's something we want to then borrow against or not.
I know you said that you expect it to be pretty weak demand, at least through May, maybe into June as well. If we do not see demand come back, let's say by September, will you have to cut payroll? Will you have to cut jobs in the fall?
Well, right now we're focused on being hunkered down. There's a lot of different recovery options out there. None of us really know. This is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this before. There's economic factors at play. There's getting people's confidence in traveling again. We have a lot to do. There's a lot of costs that we've taken out of our business already. There's lots of voluntary things that we can do. At the end of the day, the airlines are going to be an important part of getting the economy going when the time comes. And we want to make sure here at JetBlue we're here to do that. That was really the expectation behind the CARES Act when the airlines were given this great support by the administration.
All right, Robin, Jim Cramer, first I want to say I love flying JetBlue.
I love to see you back on JetBlue, Jim, I hope.
Well, the way you would do that is to do the same things you always do with service, is to make sure that the people who are sitting next to me are tested, that I'm tested, so that everybody wears masks, even if we're tested, that everything is wiped down every second, and maybe we come up, I don't know, ultraviolet light, maybe we come up with something, maybe a quick test that shows whether we have it, because the guy who does, you can really charge whatever you want, because we want to go away.
Right. Well, I think, Jim, you remember how much changed our business after 9/11 with the locked cockpit doors, the importance role of security. So I definitely think we're going to see some things here change for good. We're already seeing the way airplanes are cleaned and sterilized has changed. This week we have asked customers to wear masks when they fly with us. We're keeping the middle seat free. We're creating buffers on the airplane. We'd already invested in HEPA filters to have the best quality air on board the airplane. I think these filters are only going to improve. And, I'm sure there'll be other measures that will come out. I think the important thing that as an industry, whether it's here in the US or around the world, we try to operate to a common set of standards. And when we are back up and running, if countries have different rules and you're flying from one country to the next and there's different expectations about travel, it's going to be very confusing for people. So I think as an industry, we have to work with governments, we have to work with health agencies around the world to try and create a single set of standards as best we can.
Well, far be it from me to disagree with you. You're an airline person, but I also happen to fly United Arab Emirates. And if I'm going to take a plane right now, it'll be Emirates, because they are pretty much trying to assure you with testing, with everything. I mean, they don't have contract chasing like you have when you go to Hong Kong. But I don't want there to be a standard that JetBlue lives by. I want there to be a standard, and JetBlue lives above that standard, so that I feel more comfortable. I don't trust any standard of an industry that needed the government. If you could offer us something that told us that the air is good, that you've flown 1 million miles and no one's gotten sick, Robin, we're game on. We'll fly that airline. This is not a commodity. JetBlue prides itself on not being a commodity. Give us something that tells us we're safe, and you're going to be booked up.
Now, I couldn't agree with you more, Jim. But of course, it's not just getting on the airplane, right? It's when you come to the airport. As airports get busy again, you're going to be mixing in lobbies and foyers, in security lines with other people. And so, again, I think there's a national debate around testing. It's an important conversation. And I think this is why testing is so important, so that people know before they fly. Yes, of course, we can, you may see the rollout of testing and other things at airports, but again, the more that's done ahead of that, before you kind of even get in the car or get on the train to go to the airport, the better that is. But you will see, I believe, over the coming months, the industry, whether it's the airlines, the hotels, the whole travel industry is hurting, and we need to come together to kind of really reassure customers the steps we're taking to keep them, and also our crew members, our employees. Our employees are essential workers in this. They're coming to work every day. They're flying medical professionals around the country, equipment. We've got to take care of them as well. A lot of them don't want to fly. And it's important for confidence in the system that they also feel reassured and they feel that we're doing everything we can to keep them safe.
Hey, Robin, it's Carl. Wall Street's trying to make some choices here, parsing the good from the bad in terms of stock selection. The general thesis is when recovery comes, it's going to be leisure over business and domestic over international. Does that sound directionally right to you?
I think it sounds directionally right. Again, none of us really know. This is unprecedented. I said that earlier. I do think there'll be a tendency for people to want to stay close to home. So I think, to begin with, people are going to rather drive than fly. People are going to rather fly domestically than internationally. It might be international markets closer to the U.S. Are the ones that recover first. There is a concern that people have about, well, if things change and I get stuck, how will I get home? And so I think these things will sort of evolve over time. But I think the travel industry can come together and really kind of reassure people when the time is right, when they're ready, that we're ready. I do think there's such a pent-up demand for travel, for people to visit friends and family again, to go on vacation. There'll be some great deals around when this is over. And so for those people that feel ready to take advantage of it, airlines like JetBlue will be there to help them get them on their way.
Yeah. And to that point, International Air Transport Association, IATA, had a survey which dropped today. They did find that about 40% of respondents would want to wait 6 months or more after lockdowns lifted. I wonder, is that number surprising to you at all? 40% wanting to wait 6 months?
No, it's not. And it's not surprising. And there'll be other surveys and there'll be different numbers. I mean, I think that right now, I think a lot of people are taking it a day, a week, a month at a time. Let's see what happens. I do think that once restaurants start to open, I think people will start thinking about traveling again. Even if you're comfortable getting on an airplane, if the destination you're going is not open for business, then again, that's going to have an impact on people's willingness to travel. So it could well come back slowly. I mean, at JetBlue, as I said, we're hunkered down, we're conserving cash, we're flying 10 to 15% of our normal flights. We went into this with a strong liquidity position. So, we're able to sit it out for as long as we need to sit it out for things to come back.
Robin, this is Phil again. You've got a slew of Airbus A220s that you are scheduled to start receiving. I know originally the schedule was for later this year, but over the next several years. Any discussion or any plans to defer some of those deliveries given the state of the industry right now?
Well, fortunately, Phil, the first A220 is coming at the end of this year, and then we only have a few coming next year. The bulk of the deliveries don't really happen for a couple more years. So, we certainly have time to work through that. But we are keen to get into that airplane. and use it as a replacement for our 190s. In terms of overall conversations around deferring airplanes, I mean, that's something that we continue to discuss with Airbus. They've been good partners, and no news today, but it's something that we're watching very carefully as we make sure that we protect our liquidity and balance sheet over the next year or two.
You guys have such a huge presence on the East Coast, especially in the Southeast. And as you see, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, all saying, look, we're going to start opening up these economies. Come to the beaches, come down here. Do you expect to see much demand near term, or do you look at that and say this is just one part of it and it's going to be a slow road in terms of getting people back on the planes?
I think we need to plan conservatively. I think we need to, right now the focus is on conserving cash, flying an essential number of flights. My sense is that's where we're going to be for the rest of the quarter. We've got time to think about what it looked like in quarter three. We have the airplanes, we have the people, so we can get things ramped up here as soon as we need to. But I think right now the current approach of hunkering down and just flying a minimum number of flights to keep an essential air system going is the right approach. And we'll see as states start to open up, as demand starts to come back, we will absolutely be there to meet it.
All right, so Ron, let me play devil's advocate. Use the term essential just now. There are so many companies that believe they are essential. Howard Schultz, the man who of great business acumen, he is saying the restaurants are essential. If you listen to the cruise ship people, they are saying their industry is essential. When you listen to the hotel industry, they're essential. What the heck makes JetBlue essential?
Well, I tell you, Jim, if I look at the hundreds of thousands of medical personnel that we've needed in New York over the last several weeks, we've been very proud to fly so many of them here. New York, as you know, has been on the front lines of the COVID-19 outbreak. There's people who've come from all over the country, at great personal sacrifice to them to help out. And it's absolutely right that JetBlue and our crew members play their part to support that. We will see outbreaks across the rest of the country. We will see medical people, personnel, equipment need to move as those some states kind of come onto the downward curve and others go in a different direction. So that's why our frontline crew members are doing such an amazing job. I mean, they're heroes every day to keep the system moving. And of course, there is a requirement in the CARES Act that airlines in the US do maintain domestic air service. So even if it's something that we didn't choose to do, it's something that we would have to do.
Robin Hayes, JetBlue CEO, joining us from the company's offices in New York City. Thank you, Robin. It's been a while since we've had a chance to catch up with you, and a great assessment, Carl and Jim, of where not only JetBlue, but where the airline industry stands right now as it deals with the coronavirus and its impact on the industry.